welcome into a impromptu therapy session for what just happened at the Superdome today. My name is Jeff Nowak, WWL Radio Digital Sports producer, and still sitting here at the Dome. It's a sad scene. Saints came into the day hot. Fans had juice, brought the juice for the Juice Boys. Team couldn't get it done. It was eerily similar to what we saw in the last time the Saints had a full capacity home game, which happened at the tail end of the 2019 playoffs. Kyle Rudolph, who was out there again today, caught the touchdown in that game. Also, a game that ended, it was 26-20 that day. It was 27-21 today. It was also a game that ended on the first drive of overtime. Saints never touched the ball in overtime. That's what happened today. Kyle Rudolph didn't score the touchdown, but he did jump on a Saquon Barkley fumble that it might get the Saints the ball back, and instead ended up, uh, you know, allowing the Giants to sustain that drive, and Saquon eventually plowed in from the 1 yard line or the 2 yard line, and that's how it ends. And that was a brutal loss for the Saints. The defense allowed, I want to say, 400 yards. Let me pull up the stats here so I have them. Defense allowed 400 yards. It was not a pretty performance for them down the stretch. I actually thought they played reasonably well throughout. They got burned on a couple big plays, and that really swung the momentum toward the Giants. That John Ross touchdown came out of nowhere, 51 yards. It was officially ruled a 51-yard touchdown that he fumbled short of the goal line, but then alertly got up, sprinted to the ball. It looked like his shoe actually came off. That's how quickly he jumped up and jumped on the ball for the touchdown. The Saints defensive backs, I want to say Lattimore was in there, Marcus Williams, neither seemed aware that the ball had squirted out. They didn't try to get it. They didn't fight John Ross for that ball. And who knows, maybe they probably wouldn't have been able to beat him to that. John Ross is pretty quick, but it was a situation that you want those guys to be alert. Sean Payton, after the game, was asked if he would expect his defenders to be aware of that fumble in that situation. He said yes. He did not seem pleased that they just didn't seem cognizant of the fact that the ball was out there, because that clear recovery, even if they get up, even if they jump up and fight for it, and that ball gets kicked out of bounds, that's a turnover. Saints get that ball. So not being aware of that and allowing John Ross to just calmly pick it up for a score, that's a big play. And that was the type of thing that just went wrong for the Saints today. Everything seemed to go right for them a week ago. They turned the ball over, or they forced 3 turnovers of Mac Jones. They did not force any turnovers of Daniel Jones today. And that, 1 turnover and the Saints win that game. 1 field goal and the Saints win that game. I'm not going to blame Aldrich Roses for a miss from 58 yards. That's asking a lot of anybody. He actually put a good kick out there, had the distance. It missed a little to the right. But they just don't seem confident with him from anywhere. I don't know why you would take a guy who has missed 2 of 3 kicks in the season and throw him out there from 58 yards, but not from inside 50 where he can gain a little confidence. It just seems like they're just basically biding their time until they can get Will Lutz back. Hopefully that's week 5. If not, you might be waiting until week 7. They have a week 6 bye, so that might be a target for some of these players on injured reserve to get back after the bye, so you don't try to rush them back. But maybe you do bring them back week 5, allow them to play, and then have 2 weeks off to recover in case they have some issues getting up to speed. But I do want to pump the brakes here because 2-2, not a death sentence. The Saints were 2-2 after 4 games last year. They were 0-2 after 2 games in the 2017 season. Both years they finished, I want to say, 11-5 and made the playoffs, won the NFC South. So far from a death sentence. This is a game you want to win for the Saints because they're going to have much tougher games down the stretch. They still have 2 games against the Bucs. They had to face the Panthers again. They get 2 games against the Falcons, but it stings. This one stings. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments. Throw it in the comments on YouTube, Facebook. Eternal Absolute, still shocked. Yeah, I mean, it's the Saints win so consistently that I think when they fall apart as spectacularly as they did today, It is stunning. It's shocking because they just don't do that. It's just not what the Saints do. It's what a team like the Giants does. A team like the Giants who has lost back-to-back games on last-second field goals. Um, they had won or they had forced a missed kick against the Washington football team that was then uh, they were allowed to kick again because of a offsides penalty. Like that's the type of thing the Giants do. The Saints were the team that made the mistakes today. The Saints were the team that looked like they didn't know how to win a game, and that is frustrating for a team that is so consistently good. But hey, maybe the key is to stop playing teams with Kyle Rudolph on it because he I think he is the kiss of death for the Saints in these matchups. Anytime it gets to the end of the game or overtime, Kyle Rudolph just being there naturally just ruins the experience. I will say the crowd today was incredible. It was not a packed. It wasn't. There were empty seats. You could see there were some gaps, but the noise level was consistent. It was incredible throughout. Hats off to the fans. They deserve to win. That's what Jameis said after the game. He apologized to the fans because and you could tell he meant it. Like he wanted to give them a win. He was like genuinely pleased to be here to play this game, and he was disappointed in himself more than anything else. I think. Um, they got burned constantly. I assume you're talking about the defense. I see. I don't see that. I think, you had a couple big plays that, you know, you can consistently all night, but if you don't hold up on those, all it takes is one. All it takes is Saquon Barkley getting out in the space, and Marcus Williams has grown leaps and bounds as a tackler. That's not a tackle you expect your free safety to make in space. Saquon Barkley is probably the most difficult guy in the NFL to bring down in space. And I say that with all due respect to Chris McCaffrey, to Dalvin Cook, to a lot of these other guys. Saquon Barkley is built like a train. And when you try to tackle him one on one, with where he can go either direction, you can't funnel him to the sideline. You can't funnel him to help. Uh, you're gonna have your work cut out for you. And he didn't do it. I'm not gonna blame him there. It was a nice play by the Giants. They got him out in space. They got him on top of the zone coverage. I think Marshawn Lattimore was underneath, and he just got done. But I think that's what you have in the NFL. Any team can beat you. The Giants, as strange as that offense looks, have weapons. It's not an offense that is struggling because it doesn't have playmakers. It has the playmakers. It doesn't have the creativity to get the ball to them where they can make a play. And they did down the stretch. The drive in overtime, the Giants ran 20 offensive plays from the 2 minute and 30-second mark of the fourth quarter on. Right. Uh, any game where your defense is on the field for that long, you're going to be tiring down the stretch. In this case, you had a extended drive for a touchdown, or no, a quick drive for a touchdown. The Saints got the ball. Then you had an extended drive for a field goal. The Saints held up, and then you lose the coin toss. You get out there. It's an 11-play drive for a touchdown. That's just a tough scenario to put your defense on the field. They weren't able to get it done. I'm not gonna overreact to the defense. Defense is legit. They got beat today on 4 plays, give or take. There were 4 plays on offense for the Giants that made the difference in that game. You had the 2 touchdowns, and then you had the Kyle Rudolph fumble recovery that I thought the Saints were going to get on, and then you had that great throw by Daniel Jones down to, I want to say it was Galladay at about the 4-yard line. I'm looking over to where the spot is in the field, and that was the game. I mean, the Giants had 10 points with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You got to be able to win that game. The Saints had the ball with a chance to drive down and make it a 2-score game. They didn't do it. I'm not going to put that on the defense. You can say it was on Sean Payton. I thought the offense moved as well as it did all night when Taysom was in there. So I know a lot of people are critical of that. I think that is a weapon that they use, and that they used it well. They scored 2 touchdowns with Taysom Hill at quarterback. He had the one shot play that was probably a bad decision. I don't know what the call was, whether he had the option to run there. It shouldn't have gone up. I don't hate the play call. The execution was poor. I don't want to target James Bradbury on a shot play to Deontay Harris, where you're not trying to get it over the top. Essentially, you're throwing a jump ball to a 5'6" receiver against a elite NFL cornerback. It's not what you want to do. But I think that the Taysom Hill segment of the offense was one of the positive things you took out of today. They did it in a way that didn't take Jameis Winston out of his flow. Whether you want to say that he did or not, Jameis Winston had a solid game. Losing Tony Jones hurt. You had to figure out a way to get production with Dwayne Washington for a little bit. I don't know if he's in the doghouse in that regard, but Ty Montgomery ended up getting a couple carries in the second half. Alex Arma got a couple carries. It's not what you wanted going in. They weren't able to salt the clock away. Kamara had a good day. He had 115 yards rushing. He didn't have a catch, which is a strange thing. But let's see. I don't see that. Where do you see 6-11? Because they lost the game? I mean, were the Saints a 6-11 team last year? No. This is a winning football team. They're not a 14-3 team. They're not a 15-2 team. But this is a 10-6, 10-7, 11-6 football team. Just on the defense alone, and the offense is only going to get better as you get playmakers like Michael Thomas back. You get your kicking game more well established. I mean, we're a 6-11 team isn't one freak play away from being 3-1. I mean, that's just how it goes. The Giants are 1-3. They lost back-to-back games on last-second field goals. They're probably a 6-11 team, but that's how close it is in the NFL. You can lose to anybody on any given day. I thought the Saints' offense looked a little more cohesive today. They still have a long way to go. They still don't have any pass catchers. Adam Troutman, if you had told me he wasn't out there at all, I would believe you, because he was the only time I saw him. The only time I heard his name was when he got called for holding and erased a touchdown to Kenny Stills. That's an issue. Juwan Johnson, he's been showing up in the red zone. You don't have any intermediate passing threats. You don't have anyone who's creating separation quickly off the line where you can just kind of get those quick 5-yard hitches that are basically an extension of the running game. That part of the Saints offense has been largely absent. And that's what I think you miss most without Mick Thomas. Let's see. Yeah, I think every year you seem to have one of these. Last year it was the Raiders in week 2. Then you had the Eagles in week 14 or 13. I can't remember. Those are the two games that you look at the end of the season, and there's only one bye now. To get a bye week into the playoffs, you need the number 1 record in the conference. And when you lose games you should win, you're not going to get that. 2 years ago, they were 13-3. They didn't get a bye because they had a very similar loss to this one. Well, actually, no, it wasn't similar because they got blown out by the Falcons in week 9, I think. And that came back to bite them. They should have been 14-2. Instead, they were 13-3. They lost the tiebreaker to the Packers. The year before that, same scenario. 13-3, they lost the tiebreaker to the 49ers because they lost the head-to-head matchup. And these are the type of games that, they don't kill your season. The Saints are going to be fine. The Saints are going to win 10, 11 games. I have no doubt in my mind. But this is the type of game you have to win. You have to be able to win this game to be able to have a chance at that number 1 seed in the playoffs, to get that bye week, to be in positive situations in the playoffs, which we have not seen for the Saints. When's the last time they had an NFC championship at home? We remember. That was a rhetorical question. It was the no-call game. And so apparently playing games at home does not inherently benefit you if you're the Saints, but still what you want. It's still the situation you want to set up. Good. I'm glad we're on the same page. All right. That's going to be it. Just figured I'd hop on here and answer some of your schedule. Okay, we got one more here. Look at our schedule. This will be the first of a long losing streak. Well, let's do that. Let's look at the schedule. Bear with me as I pull this up. And I do want to point out that looking at the schedule is almost always a sign that we're overreacting. Because if you looked at the schedule after week 2 of the 2019 season, I don't think anyone was predicting that Drew Brees would come back to a team with a 6-1 record. But hey, that's where we ended up. So yeah, let's look at it. I'll share my screen here. All right. So first up, the Washington football team. Yes, the Saints can and should, and I would say will beat the Washington football team. Scrolling down, you have a bye week. So the Saints theoretically, are going to be favored to go into their bye week at 3-2, which that's already not a losing streak, and I expect will get a lot of players back. Hopefully, Michael Thomas in week 7, and some of those guys from IR. Quan Alexander, Nick Bennett, Will Lutz, Ken Crawley. Good players that you want to get back. There's at least one more I'm thinking of. Maybe Tehran. Eric McCoy didn't go on IR, should be back by then. So there's a lot of pieces that you're getting back. Week 8, Tampa. That's going to be tough, but they can win that game. It's in New Orleans. Week 9, Atlanta. That should be a win. I mean, I don't see any games where the Saints team is going to be heavy underdogs. Maybe Tampa, but they have some issues of their own. They have injuries they're dealing with. They lost to the Rams badly last week. They're not exactly, flying high. And the Titans, week 10, the Saints have played them before. I don't see any reason that the Saints would not be competitive with the Titans. Again, the Eagles, the Bills. There's some tough matchups, but there's also a lot of wins baked in here. And just look at the games that you expect them to be favored in. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I mean, those are 6 games that the Saints should be favorites in. That would be 8 wins if they win all of those games. They have to play more consistently. They have to figure it out. They can't play down to competition the way that they have, and I think that's important. But all right. Yeah, no, I mean that those, I don't think the Taysom play is as damaging as it seemed in the moment. Keep in mind this was. Let me actually double check because I'm pretty sure it happened on a 3rd and long. I also think I said Daniel Jones didn't throw an interception. He technically did throw an interception, but it was at the end of the half and Hail Mary. So, call that what you want. Yeah, it was a 1st and 20 play at the Saints 44. Obviously, you don't want to throw an interception there, but how often do you convert on a 1st and 20? With 4 downs, you might have a good shot, but I think going for it on 1st and 20 when the defense is not going to be as prepared for a deep ball isn't a bad strategy. I think when you saw the coverage and you saw that you weren't going to get Deontay Harris over the top, you probably should have come back and just pulled it down and gotten what you can, make a positive play, 8-9 yards on 1st down, and then all of a sudden you're looking at 2nd and 11, you have a chance. But I don't hate the idea of going deep there. Whether you leave in Jameis to do it or allow Taysom to throw it downfield. I think that you get better looks downfield when you have Taysom Hill in the game, right? So I think the logic behind that play was good. It didn't work out. James Bradbury made a play. If you watch my pregame live chat before kickoff day, I spent at least 5 minutes talking about how excellent James Bradbury is. I talked about how the Giants are going to be a big play team. They're going to have to score quickly. They're not going to be extending drives the way that the Saints wish they could. And that's what happened. This is the Giants team we knew, and the Saints were unable to stop it when push came to shove. But I do think that holding penalty was. I mean, if Adam Troutman doesn't hold there, which doesn't look like he had to, it looked like Jameis was going to be fine either way. Um, that's a backbreaking touchdown. The Saints win the game. I think. I don't know. I don't see any way the Giants come back from that. I didn't think they were going to come back from 10 down until Saquon did Saquon things, and that's why Saquon is such an excellent player. That's why you want him, because he can do that at any point. He could do that 3, 4 times a game, but he only did it once. Um, I'd have to go back and look at it. Uh, I don't think Harris had much of a step, but you can only throw a ball so far. I don't know where it ended up. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, in looking back at it, you can say that the ball was not delivered where it needed to be, but Deontay Harris didn't have a step. I mean, he was covered. In a lot of instances, you're fine with a back shoulder throw. The problem is when you're doing that to Deontay Harris, he's 5'6", and if he has to go for a jump ball, all due respect to Deontay Harris, I just don't think he can jump as high as some other guys because he's just got farther to go. Again, I don't hate the decision there. I don't hate the idea. James Bradbury made an excellent play. James Bradbury is an excellent player. Sometimes it happens. Um, again, I think the logic makes sense, and there's a subset of people that just don't want to see Taysom Hill play the ball. He didn't. I just watched the play. Deontay Harris was even with Bradbury the entire way. He stopped because the ball was delivered uh, to his back shoulder, but that was getting broken up. We can watch it again in the All-22 when they released the All-22. He didn't have a step. uh, if Taysom can put it out in front of Deontay, he can run under it. I think you have a chance to complete that ball. But the idea that he was wide open, he had like actual separation to throw that ball, he didn't. And we weren't able to talk to Taysom after the game. I don't think he underthrows the ball by that much. I mean, he didn't. I just watched it. He didn't break open. James Bradbury was in his hip pocket the entire way. I've watched Taysom throw enough deep balls that he's not underthrowing the ball that much uh, by accident. It looked very much like he was trying to go back shoulder there. I don't know why you would. I think it was a bad decision to throw the ball. I think you just pull it down and run. Um, but I don't. I mean, you can say, "Oh, Jameis would have thrown that out there." You can watch that replay as many times as you want. If you think that's separation, I don't know what to tell you. He was not like James Bradbury was in his hip pocket the whole way. He ran the route better than Harris did. But again, I'm just rambling now. But I mean, you can say it's an apology thing. This scored three touchdowns the last 2 weeks. I don't think I need to apologize for Taysom. He's doing just fine. Um, but hey, some people don't like touchdowns. But all right, y'all. That's it for me. Thanks for everyone who chimed in. Um, spoiler: I don't think Taysom Hill is the reason the Saints lost today, but there are a lot of good reasons the Saints lost, and it's not gonna be one they forget very soon. We are back on the road this week, going back to Washington or going out to Washington. It's going to be an interesting game. The Fighting Taylor Heineke's. Uh, I just can't get over this. How, in what world is Taysom Hill costing the Saints games? It blows my mind. The most efficient version of your offense is costing you games. Come on, get out of here. Oh, that's so comical. But we'll move on. We don't need to go over this. I agree the play calling could have been better. The play calling has been very conservative. I think the Saints are trying to win games on defense, which they have been able to do. And it didn't work today. It worked against the Patriots. The Giants played well. You got to give the Giants some credit here. They played well. The defense played very well. The offense took advantage of their opportunities, and they got the job done. But all right, that's it for me. Until the next time, peace out.